Thank you, everybody, for being here. We are really excited. My name's Carolyn. I'm his wife. We have been planning this for 2 years, but being inspired about it for about 3 years. And I wanted to kind of give you a little tiny backstory. A lot of you remember us from our twins, Amulek and Alma. And I did want to take a minute to tell you all thank you so much for praying for them, for being there to help us bear that burden with us. We learned a really powerful lesson on the importance of bearing one another's burdens and how that really binds the enemy. And we couldn't have gotten through that without all of you. So we did want to make sure we let you know that we're very grateful for you all. When we were first baptized, then we went to the Lord asking him if we can help with this project or that project, and we were just really excited. And when we finally put aside our own desires and asked him what he wanted us to do, we got put on this journey. It wasn't exactly what we had in mind, and honestly, it wasn't that exciting to us. But we did our best to go with what we were being told, and we started just listening and following the guidance of the Spirit. What we had found in that journey was that there's a lot of division and a lot of hurt among all of this people. We spent the last few years seeking to understand why and asking the Lord what he would like us to do about it. And he continually led us and taught us and shown us many things in the last 3 years. And he used our boys, Amulek and Alma, the ones you were all praying for, to give us many valuable insights in the direction to go. All the times in the hospital gave us new layers of understanding and inspiration. We did our best to follow that and listen. Though our challenges were very difficult, we were grateful for the many experiences we've had that have led us where we are now. And I really believe it is going to help bring healing to all of us. That's our hope and our intention for this weekend. I just want to make sure I don't need to cut some of this out. Okay. One of these experiences that we had at the hospital, I want to just kind of give you some insight into what happened. When we went, Amulek was life-flighted to the hospital, and it was almost exactly 2 years from the time that him and Alma were both life-flighted, and as newborns. So they were life-flighted as newborns, and then 2 years later, almost to the day, Amulek was life-flighted again. And this time it was because the shunt he had was infected. While we were there with him, Mark and I spent a lot of time praying about the issues that were dividing this people. And we asked what could be done. In the middle of our prayers, Amulek's oxygen suddenly dropped and his heart rate spiked. I grabbed the nurses and they quickly got him oxygen and they called the doctors. He had gone into a major seizure. The doctors gave him a few doses of medication, but nothing could make it stop. They got to where it was too dangerous to give him any more and of the ones that they had, so they had to order a new medication. To give Amulek the support he needed, they took us back down to ICU, to the exact same room we were in 2 years before. We were only hours away from the anniversary of the first time we had been there. A lot of memories flooded back to us of that very terrifying moment, or all the many terrifying moments we'd had in that room before, and now here we were again. Fear tried to overtake us, and I recognized it immediately and began to fight against it. I started to focus on my breath and get my mind in the present moment, seeking to hear the Lord's voice, remembering the promises he had given to us before. Eventually, I had peace come over me, and I began to say, "Peace, be still," over and over again to the storm. I was surprised by how calm I became, and I had an inner knowing that Amulek would be okay. I became aware in that moment that I was experiencing healing from the trauma that had happened 2 years before in that very room, and I continued to say, "Peace, be still." 90 minutes had gone by, and they still hadn't gotten the new medication, and Amulek finally came out of that seizure on his own. Less than 20 hours later, we were back upstairs, and Amulek was doing great. After reflecting on that experience, we felt the voice of the Lord whisper to us the purpose for it. Our prayers were being answered. We had the knowing and understanding given to us that in order for us to find healing for the trauma that we had experienced 2 years before, that we had to go back and face it. I had to experience it again, but I had to do it differently. I was able to be present and aware of my triggers coming up and let them go so I could find peace again, even in the midst of chaos. Then it came to us that that same thing needed to happen for this people. We were given the understanding that we have been stuck, unable to move forward, that we needed to go back and process the hurt that we have caused one another in order to heal from the trauma of our past wounds. And it was clear that we didn't need to spend a lot of time on visiting these wounds. We just needed to be able to bring awareness to it and process it so we could let it go and move forward. We have been on this journey being led by experiences like this that have given us little bits of pieces of information on what needs to happen. And we have simply trusted and just followed that voice each step, not knowing where we would end up. And now here we are. We have seen pieces fall into place that we had no idea were in the works. We have been in awe watching it all unfold. This weekend is an opportunity for us as a people to reflect back on the last 7 years. It is an opportunity to begin to find healing among us. We have felt to go about this as gently as possible, creating ways we can unite our hearts together again. Our intention is to create a safe space where we can come together and through play, discover the things that divide us from one another. We hope to explore how we can overcome our differences through charity and learn to see one another the way the Lord sees us all, so that we can begin to love each other as He does. In this process, we hope we will begin to unite our hearts together in an effort to be one so we can be the Lord's people. Our hope is that throughout this weekend, the things that currently divide us will begin to dissipate and we can learn what we ought. We recognize that the theme of this conference has been a little bit concerning to some. So we hope that by now, some, if not all of you, have had that concern lifted so that you can see our hearts and you can see that we're not here to cause any more division. We're here to bring healing. We have been pondering and praying about this for 2 years, like I've said, and we're doing our best to make this fun, non-threatening, while at the same time open up a safe space for us to ponder on the questions, what have we learned and what ought we to have learned? We hope that you will ponder on these questions and talk amongst yourselves about these all weekend. I think that we will all be pleasantly surprised by the direction this goes. I know we have been so far. We don't have a planned outcome of how this needs to look. We only are seeking to take that next step in the direction that we are guided, and our hope and prayer for this weekend is that we can all together take that next step to knitting our hearts together so that we can cry with one voice and begin to bear good fruit. We also want to say how grateful we are that the covenant of Christ has been given to us, especially at this time. We don't believe it is an accident that it happened and it was joined to this conference. We have gained so much light from it, and we hope that your conversations will also include what you've learned and what we ought to have learned. Let me say that again. We hope that our conversations will include what we ought to have learned from this book, because it has been made plain to us. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking about the activities, but first, if you haven't already, there are waivers that need to be signed out there. I don't believe anybody's going to get hurt, but we do have to just have you sign waivers and so if you guys can all go out there after we're done here, sign a waiver. They're going to give you stickers to kind of help guide you to know which activity you're going to next. There's 6 of them total, but you're going to have a chance to participate in maybe 4 or 5 of them because you're here today. Okay, if those that are coming tomorrow will probably get 1 or 2. So we're really grateful you guys are here. You're going to get a full experience. So I hope that you all brought your journals because you're going to have some cool experiences. If not, then find some paper. You got to write it down. So these activities have a really cool way of showing you things that you didn't know before, helping us see blind spots or helping us to really connect with one another. They're very powerful. They are not, just know that you're not going to have any crazy surprises that you're going to be upset about, okay? So please make sure you attend all 3. There's the Cloak of Charity, the Soul Connection, and Reflection, okay? And then there's going to be some of them that are more physical, and that's the wall and the volcano one, and then parachute toss, okay? So just try to attend at least one of those, okay? And that's what the stickers are kind of there. If you don't want to go to the one that your sticker tells you to, then switch it. But, that's just for guidance so you guys can know where to go and there's a little bit more organization. So to end, I want to share a story from a children's book. It's called Love Does for Kids. This story kind of gives the idea of what we're hoping to create here this weekend. And so I thought it would be great to end with this. This story is called Living Water. It starts like this. Our family has a cabin in Canada that we call the Lodge. One of my favorite things about the Lodge is that it has been a safe place for people to solve problems. Jesus gave some great ideas on how we could solve problems. He said that if we have a problem with someone else, we need to go to that person directly and talk about it so we can be friends again. Sometimes talking through a problem can be hard, and we might need to ask someone else to help us. Jesus said that was okay too. An important part of loving others is giving them the chance to make things right when they've made a mistake. If you've made a mistake and need someone to help you if you've made a mistake and need someone to help you talk it through, that's something parents and teachers are really good at. When Jesus didn't know what to do, he asked his Father for help. We can do the same. When our family made friends with different world leaders, we found out that some of the countries weren't getting along very well. There had been wars and people had said unkind things, so the leaders had trouble talking to each other. We had just built the Lodge, so we thought, what could be a better place to bring people together who were having a hard time talking to each other? Maybe we could help them become friends. For the first gathering at the Lodge, we invited folks from 5 different countries that were very upset with each other. We didn't tell them beforehand who else we had invited. We thought that they might not come if they knew. When they all arrived, it was a little awkward. Our new friends were shocked. "You want me to spend time with them?" they each exclaimed, pointing to someone in the room they didn't like. "That person's country is at war with my country. We can't be friends." Our new friends hadn't been at the Lodge for long before they raised their voices and started saying mean things to each other. It was getting bad fast, and I could tell that our new friends needed help getting past these problems. "Friends," I said, stopping the fight, "in our house we have a rule. Anyone who fights has to jump off the cliff behind the Lodge into the water with me. Let's go." There was a brief moment of stunned silence, but they could see I was serious. One by one, our guests made the leap into the freezing cold water with all of their clothes on. Something amazing happened as we bobbed in the salty ocean water. The fights were forgotten, and our new friends started cheering each other on to jump again. They laughed until their sides hurt. People climbed up the cliff to do more jumps. Some people jumped together, holding hands to help each other conquer their fear of heights. This shared moment of bravery and adventure put conflict in its rightful place, the bottom of the ocean. The water dissolved the anger the leaders had toward each other. That evening, after an afternoon of cliff jumping, these new friends who had been angry with each other just a few hours before sat in a circle and shared stories and talked about their hopes for the future of their countries. I'm not surprised that Jesus talked about water so much. His first miracle was changing ordinary water into wine. He walked on water, was baptized in it, and calmed it when the waves got big. He even compared himself to water, saying that the life he had come to bring was so good for us, it would be like taking a drink of water and never being thirsty again. I think we can do a lot more with water than we think. We may not be able to walk on it, but the next time you have a problem with someone, you can't figure out how to solve it, you might want to just jump in the water together. You don't need to jump off a cliff, and really you should only do that with permission from a grown-up, but maybe you could think of something else to do to help bring people together. In sharing this story, our hope is that we too will be able to lay down our conflicts in whatever form they be and come together in laughter and support of one another while playing together. Thank you for coming and participating, and we hope that you all have a really good time. So